Dear learners, welcome to the undergraduate program on human rights. Today we are going to discuss in detail the evolution of Human Rights Council, an organ of United Nations which is dedicated to the cause of human rights and which is very young. However, the evolution of Human Rights Council takes us back to the United Nations Commission on Human Rights. So, we are going to learn about the Human Rights Council in two parts. In the first part, we looked into the UN Commission on Human Rights and how its weaknesses led to the establishment of Human Rights Council. In this second part of the lecture, we are going to discuss the powers and functions of the Human Rights Council and its new methods to promote and protect human rights all over the world. So, let us begin. The Human Rights Council meets for at least 10 weeks per year at the United Nations office in Geneva, Switzerland. The regular sessions usually take place in March, June and September. It could also hold additional special sessions at the request of any member with the support of 1/3 of the membership of the Council. The Council can also convene urgent meetings on short notice to respond to emerging human rights crises. The Council's subsidiary bodies meet for approximately 20 additional weeks each year. Since its first session in 2006, the Council's agenda has been expanding and its meeting time has more than doubled. The Council has certain mandates. It was specified in the General Assembly resolution that the UNHRC or the Human Rights Council should agree to a universal periodic review process, which we will be discussing later in this lecture, to address situations of violations of human rights, including gross and systematic violations, and make recommendations, promote and protect human rights violations through constructive dialogue and cooperation, serve as a forum for dialogue on thematic issues on all human rights matters, cooperate with NGOs, NHRIs, that is National Human Rights Institutions, and the civil society at national, regional and international levels for the promotion of human rights, etc. As decided by the General Assembly in its resolution 48/141 of 20th December 1993, the Council is to assume the roles and responsibilities of the UN Commission on Human Rights relating to the work of the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, OHCHR. It will also promote human rights education and learning, advisory services, technical assistance and capacity building, which is to be provided in consultation with and the consent of the states concerned. The Council shall review its work and functioning 5 years after its creation and report to the UN General Assembly, it was also specified. Now, let us look at the initiatives and methods of the Council. In 2012, the Human Rights Council established the Voluntary Technical Assistance Trust Fund to support the participation of least developed countries, LDCs, and small island developing countries, SIDS, in the work of the Council. The LDC and SIDS Trust Fund was established in 2014 and states make voluntary contributions to it. The fund aims to ensure that the LDCs and the SIDS without permanent representation in Geneva are able to participate and contribute to the work of the Council. It does so by providing training on human rights and engagement with the Council, fellowship programs and practical induction trainings for delegates and conducts regional workshops as well. Currently, 72 LDCs and SIDS are eligible to apply for the trust fund. 14 are Latin American and Caribbean states, 22 are Asia Pacific states, and 36 are African states. Such participation in council sessions enables these states to better advance and promote human rights issues that are of primary importance for their respective countries, such as climate change. The Human Rights Council's mechanism of Universal Periodic Review, popularly known as UPR, is a unique process which involves a review of the human rights records of all 193 UN member states once every 4.5 years. The UPR has been considered as one of the most innovative and meaningful achievements of the Council, which has been carefully planned to ensure equal treatment for every country when their human rights situations are assessed. It provides the opportunity for each state to declare what actions they have taken to improve the human rights situation in their countries and to fulfill their human rights obligations, as well as the challenges and constraints they are facing in doing so. During UPR working group meetings, which were held 3 times per year, UN member states mention achievements, express concerns, and ultimately pose recommendations to the states under review. Each year, 42 states are reviewed, receiving an average of 180 recommendations each. Reviewed states are then expected to indicate which recommendations they support and to report on measures and steps taken to implement them, which on an average are 75% of all recommendations made, which is a good number. Moreover, the UPR also provides a space for states to request for technical assistance from other states to enhance their capacity to deal effectively with challenges and for them to share best practices. The ultimate aim of this process is to improve the human rights situation on the ground in all countries with significant consequences for people around the globe and address human rights violations wherever they occur. Since the UPR began functioning in 2008, all 193 UN member states have successfully participated in it. The third cycle of reviewing of human rights records of each country commenced in the year 2017. We have already talked about the Human Rights Council's special procedures. Under this, the mandate holders are made up of special rapporteurs, independent experts, or working groups composed of 5 members who are appointed by the Council and who serve in their personal capacity. Special procedures undertake country visits, act on individual cases and concerns of a broader structural nature by sending communications to states and other actors bringing alleged violations or abuses to their attention, conduct thematic studies and convene expert consultations, contribute to the development of international human rights standards, engage in advocacy, raise public awareness and provide advice for technical cooperation. These independent experts report once a year minimum to the Council on their findings and recommendations as well as to the UN General Assembly. At times, they are the only mechanism alerting the international community to certain human rights issues. Currently, there are 80 active special procedure mandate holders for 56 mandates, 44 of which are thematic mandates such as water and sanitation, arbitrary detention, the rights of migrants, violence against women, torture, human trafficking, etc., and 12 are country specific mandates. Human Rights Council also has an advisory committee as its think tank, which focuses mainly on studies and research based advice. It consists of 18 independent experts that are elected by the Council and are drawn proportionally from the 5 UN regional groups. The experts are from different professional backgrounds and serve in their personal capacity for 3-year terms and are eligible for re-election only once. The advisory committee held its meeting in 2008. It meets twice a year in February and August for 1 week's time each. The advisory committee has produced studies on a wide range of thematic issues including vulture funds, corruption, local government, post-disaster and post-conflict situations, terrorist hostage taking, the right to food, missing persons, rights of persons living with albinism, and promoting human rights through sports and Olympic deals, among others. The advisory committee has also formulated draft declarations as well as principles and guidelines on a number of topics, some of which are endorsed by General Assembly. For example, the principles and guidelines for the elimination of discrimination against persons affected by leprosy and their family members. Moving further, the Human Rights Council has its own complaint procedure as well. It aims to address consistent patterns of gross and reliably attested human rights violations occurring in any part of the world and under any circumstances. The complaint procedure is based on communications received from individuals, groups, or non-governmental organizations that claim to be the victims of human rights violations or that have direct reliable knowledge of such violations. The complaint procedure was established in 2007 out of the need to improve the previous 1503 procedure through increasing impartiality, objectivity, efficiency, and victim orientation. 2 distinct working groups, the working group on communications and the working group on situations, are responsible respectively for examining communications and bringing violations of human rights and fundamental freedoms to the Council's attention for further action. Deriving motivation from the 1503 procedure, the complaint procedure is conducted in a confidential manner unless the Council decides otherwise. It is expected that it will enhance and ensure cooperation from the state concerned. This is the only universal complaint procedure covering all human rights and fundamental freedoms in all member states. An average of 4,000 communications are submitted to the complaint procedure of the Council each year, which shows its popularity as well as reliability. In addition to these methods, the Human Rights Council can also establish international commissions of inquiries, fact-finding missions, and investigations to respond to serious violations of international human rights and humanitarian law, whether protracted or resulting from sudden events, and to promote accountability for such violations and counter impunity. The commissions of inquiries and fact-finding missions produce strong evidence on war crimes and crimes against humanity. To bring violators to justice and to hold them accountable is their main job. These investigations are supported by the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights by providing administrative, logistical as well as security support and expertise. Till the year 2020, 31 such commissions and missions have been created by the Council, with 7 currently active. These are Independent International Fact-Finding Mission on the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Independent Investigative Mechanism for Myanmar, International Team of Experts on Kasai region of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Group of Eminent Experts on the Situation of Human Rights in Yemen, Commission of Inquiry on Human Rights in Burundi, Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan, Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Syrian Arab Republic. The Human Rights Council has an expert mechanism on the rights of indigenous peoples as well. It conducts studies and research on the rights of the indigenous people as directed by the Council. It covers issues such as education, the right to participation in decision-making processes, access to justice, the role of language, cultures, and the identity of the indigenous people, etc. And it may also highlight good practices as well. Further, the expert mechanism may also provide member states with technical advice in order to develop domestic policies upholding the rights of the indigenous peoples, and may also look into the implementation of such recommendations. The expert mechanism is made up of 7 independent experts based on equitable geographical distribution and gender balance, who are appointed by the Council for 3-year term. It holds one annual session, usually in July, with the participation of a wide range of stakeholders, whose participation is also strengthened through the Voluntary Fund for Indigenous Populations. The expert mechanism reports to the Council once a year and produces an annual study on the status of the rights of indigenous peoples worldwide. The expert mechanism on the right to development was also established by Human Rights Council in September 2019, with a mandate to work for the promotion of this newly understood right worldwide. The expert mechanism is to consist of 5 independent experts who were to be appointed by the Council President at the conclusion of its 43rd session in March 2020. I would suggest you all to find out more about this latest development. The new body will meet once annually for 3 days in Geneva and once annually for 3 days in New York, and will report once a year to the Council for its activities. The meetings will be open to states, UN bodies, intergovernmental organizations, regional organizations, national human rights institutions, academics and experts on development issues, and also NGOs. The Human Rights Council further on also has a consultative group comprising of 5 ambassadors representing each of the 5 regional groups and serving in personal capacity. They can make recommendations for candidates to fill positions of UN human rights experts, special procedures mandate holders, members of the expert mechanism on the rights of indigenous peoples, and the expert mechanism on the right to development. The working of the consultative group is a competitive and transparent process through which it evaluates candidates' expertise and experience in the field of the vacant mandate. Then it makes recommendations to the President of the Council, noting their preferred candidates, which are made public in a report prior to each regular session of the Council. The appointment is finalized when the selected candidate nominated by the President is approved by the Council during its session. The Forum on Minority Issues has also been established under the Council to provide a platform for promoting dialogue and cooperation on issues pertaining to national or ethnic, religious and linguistic minorities, as well as to highlight the work of the special rapporteurs on minority issues. The Forum identifies and analyzes best practices, challenges, opportunities and initiatives for further implementation of the Declaration on Rights of the Persons Belonging to National or Ethnic, Religious and Linguistic Minorities. The Forum meets annually for 2 working days allocated to thematic discussions with a chairperson appointed by the President of the Human Rights Council on the basis of regional rotation and in consultation with regional groups. The Special Rapporteur on Minority Issues guides the work of the Forum. It prepares its annual meetings and reports on the thematic recommendations of the Forum to the Council. So, we observe that there is a network of different agencies and offices that work in unison for human rights under the Council system. The Forum is open to all relevant stakeholder groups, including states, the wider UN system, intergovernmental and regional organizations, national human rights institutions, non-governmental organizations and affected stakeholders, among others. In a world where non-state actors like big companies are big players in global politics and rights of an individual, the Council has a Forum on Business and Human Rights, which is a body dedicated to discussing trends and challenges in the implementation of the guiding principles on business and human rights. It promotes dialogue and cooperation on issues linked to business and human rights, including challenges faced in particular sector, operational environments or in relation to specific rights or groups. It also identifies good practices. Then there is a Social Forum of the Human Rights Council, which holds an annual 3-day meeting convened by the Council. It provides for an open and interactive dialogue between civil society actors, representatives of member states and intergovernmental organizations on a theme chosen by the Council each year. The Forum has addressed issues such as how to combat poverty, the adverse effects of climate change on human rights, the promotion of the right to development, the rights of the older persons, access to medicines and the rights of persons with disabilities, etc. The Forum on Human Rights, Democracy and Rule of Law is also established by the Human Rights Council, and it provides a platform for promoting dialogue and a cooperation on issues pertaining to relationship between these areas and to identify and analyze best practices, challenges and opportunities for states in their efforts to secure respect for human rights, democracy and the rule of law. The Forum meets biannually for 2 working days. The President of the Council appoints for each session on the basis of regional rotation and in consultation with the regional groups, a chairperson for the forum from candidates nominated by members of the observers of the council. Now, let us look at the challenges before the council. The major challenge before the Human Rights Council is how to live up to the new mandate and the responsibilities that it has acquired for improving the human rights situations globally. Getting cooperation of the member states with the Council is very important, as failure to do so could lead the Council to a similar fate as that of UN Commission of Human Rights. The political instability in some countries and regions in one way or the other could worsen human rights situations in some countries or all over the world. Issues like these present a challenge to the Council for sure. Human rights violations done by the UN peacekeeping and peace building troops in many countries are one of the serious issues that the Council needs to address along with the UN Security Council and the UN Secretary General. The Council must be prepared to give a timely and adequate response to an emergency situation of human rights abuse anywhere in the world. The Council could hold special sessions for human rights violations, but even that needs 2/3 majority, which may not lead to a timely response. Well, on this note of caution, we would like to end this lecture here. I hope you liked the content of the lecture and would like to look into the details of the Human Rights Council on your own as well. We will keep discussing the topics of human rights relevance. Till then, take care. Thank you.